Hey everyone, it's Justin here, Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, wherever you may be across the world, here in the United States. We just want to say we're grateful to have you with us. We are pushing our way towards 400 total episodes, and that's because of you. So thank you. You can watch and listen, as you know, on YouTube as well as Rumble, and you can listen everywhere. iHeart, Spotify, Amazon, uh, Podcast Index, Podcast Addict. There's so many choices for you to choose from. They're all free. And there's one all additional free one that we've been asked about that we haven't always been sharing. So we're going to continue sharing, and that is if you head on over to www.voicesforvoices.org/podcast, and that'll bring up the whole list of our whole catalog, over 375 plus episodes. And it brings up at the very top the most recent episode that we have filmed. And that's a positive because I've noticed some of these awesome podcast platforms that make you scroll all the way down. And when you have as many episodes as we do, and we're blessed to have, it could take a few seconds to do, and it can get frustrating. So we recommend as an alternative, if you'd like, you can head on over to voicesforvoices.org/podcast. Thank you for joining us. We're so just honored to have you with us. We have been uh, the last 30 days, I believe, we've filmed and dropped 32 to 33 episodes. Depends on what point of day that uh, we make those calculations because we're usually filming uh, at least every 2 to 3 days. Some days we're filming two, three episodes, and sometimes we go and we have a break of like a week or so because we all need a break from time to time, and that's okay. So thank you for joining us. We're going to be talking about something that is near and dear to our Voices for Voices publishing area of Voices for Voices, and that is the term plagiarism. Um, what I'm going to do, I think, just to make things a little bit easier, is to get us started. I'm going to take us on over to uh, uh, plagiarism. All right. So, plagiarism on the educational front. So, having been an instructor on the collegiate front, undergrad, in person, remote, uh, MBA courses, undergrad, of course, uh, all kinds of individuals because everybody's unique. And unfortunately, I've had a couple instances where plagiarism has actually occurred, and it is not something that is fun to talk about. But what was integrated into uh, our assignment, kind of our digital assignment, turn in is it's called Turnitin, right? Turn it in kind of makes sense, right? And it would so we would upload all the students' work, and we would get a score and information on how likely it was that, you know, bits and pieces, parts, or maybe even the whole project was plagiarized. And we would uh, we would use that to kind of guide our grading, as well as any additional conversations that needed to be had with students. We look at, from a, let's say, 100% in this case would be the entire paper, the entire project would be plagiarized, meaning the entire project, entire paper was written and turned in somewhere along the line. And that's not good. You want to have a score as close to 0%. 5 to 10% usually is basically acceptable, because there are sometimes, certain sentences and certain ways of saying uh, certain actions. There's only maybe a couple different ways of saying that, and so it makes a little bit of sense that, there's going to be some overlap, but that's why we look at and say, okay, let's look at 10% versus 70%. 10%, that's kind of in line with the norm. Again, we want it to be 0%. But when we look at, again, in this hypothetical example, 10% versus 70%, well, that paper, that project, it was 70% plagiarized with a high degree of confidence. That is cause for concern. And so that would prompt conversations, further conversations with myself, the student, oftentimes the dean, the section head. So if it was marketing, it'd be the marketing. Uh, if it was management, and it'd be, management, economics, et cetera. That's kind of how that would work. And then we would talk about uh, what occurred, and we would look at conversations and what the students would say. Sometimes students would freely admit, hey, I was on a time crunch, it happened, I didn't mean to do it, uh, I won't do it again. And so then we would take that into our decision making, as far as, everything from doing nothing, which I'm not a big proponent of, to, getting a 0 on that particular assignment, but not affecting the whole class per se. Meaning that if this is a marketing 101 course, and halfway through the term is when this happens, and there's a 70% with good with a high degree of confidence that the 70% was plagiarized, uh, then we would have a decision to make. Okay, well, that's an automatic 0 on the assignment. So if it was a 200-point assignment, that's a 0. Uh, because we don't as human beings really, as much as we want to say that, oh, I won't do it again, that word gets around. Trust me, that word gets around. Oh, Professor so and so, I did this and I just got a 0. Well, there's escalations that can occur. If said student, 70%, actually let's call it 80, let's call it 80 to 100%, because I've had 100% matches, meaning the exact same paper project was turned in verbatim except the name. And in those cases, we have decisions to make. And so this was with a dean that I communicated with. This was with an athlete, actually two athletes. They both turned in the same exact paper, wasn't sure who did what, when, and we run into this whole athletics and education and this whole thing of, well, they play athletics, so, you know, not only given 0 points on an assignment, we can take it to that next level that says, okay, we're going to take the point level. Let's say there's 1,000 points in class, and let's say 90% is an A. There's been times where I've opted to take all the points, so basically taking those 100 points uh, and tossing them out the window so that there's no way that the student is able to get an A in class, the overall grade. That makes a difference. Then there's the third escalation point, and this is some there's some scar tissue around that for me because uh I mean, I'm just coming right out and saying the same thing. They're athletes, we can't get them kicked out of, even though on the syllabus, the syllabi, even though it says if you plagiarize that you can be administratively removed from class, meaning you're kicked out of class and you got to retake class that particular course at a different time. Well, at this time that I'm talking about, you know, the dean didn't want that because we're talking about athletes. And I'm all for watching athletics. I'm all for rooting and cheering on certain teams and that, just like we all probably are to an extent. But I also, having a master's degree, went through two ethics courses on top of ethics being covered in just about each and every other course along the way. Ethics and in business, ethics and management, and you get the idea, ethics and marketing. And so I was basically said, well, we can't kick him out of class, even though that's what should happen because these papers were identical. And these students came in brazen and said, oh, I don't know what happened. We worked on it together, but no, I didn't copy him. He didn't copy me. Okay, we're putting paper A, paper B together or side by side. Tell me the difference. Oh, well, the name and the date. Okay. So, paper, the only thing that it's different than the name. I think there should be punishment for that. I know going through my education, I sure as blank would have been kicked out of my class if that would have happened, if I would have done that. And so that was my decision. I wanted to do that. But the dean said, no, 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 we can't do that. They're athletes and, that would take them out of being eligible for their sport. Have you minded, our sports teams are not that great. Not that that should make a difference because it shouldn't, but our teams aren't even that great. So we're sending a wrong message. And so I wasn't able to administratively withdraw them, the two students, the athletes, even though they should have. So plagiarism. Let's find out exactly what that is since I've taken about 10 minutes. Plagiarism meaning. All right. So from Wikipedia, here we go, is plagiarism, which is spelled Plagiarism, is a noun, Noun. The definition that I want to bring up is an instance of plagiarizing, especially a passage, so a written work. A passage that is taken from the work of one person and reproduced in the work of another without attribution. So it's one thing if there would have been attribution, if there was a sentence or two, right? We see this all the time. Uh, After a sporting event, after a tragedy, there's attribution of where information comes from. And and so there was no attribution on those examples that I gave. There was no attribution of, hey, this whole paper is attributed to this student and vice versa. That didn't happen. So there was no attribution, and it was one person, one student, turning in the exact same work as the other. So it's basically a one for one, except for the name difference on the paper itself, the project. So that's what a definition is. And you might be asking why, this is a mental health, a trauma recovery. We talk about, mental health, mental illness. We talk about uh, mythical creatures around the world. We're heavily talking about Voices for Voices Publishing, which is the arm of Voices for Voices, like, uh, that is connected to the publishing side of things. So I bring up plagiarism, and I've already had experience with this. So this isn't me just making something up. Uh, this isn't me placing blame where blame shouldn't be given, or bringing up this topic. Uh, First and foremost, I like to say uh, we've been getting some really nasty comments on our videos. I mean, really nasty. Uh, and so I'm going to say this. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. Period. Full stop. Turn on a different show. Turn on a different podcast. You're not going to hurt my feelings. You're not going to hurt anybody, any of our guests or anybody's feelings. Just do that. It makes things much easier, much simpler. Because if you have so much time in your day or night, evening, morning, afternoon, that you can sit on a TikTok live and then just start spewing hate. Uh, some may be considered death threats. We do have the First Amendment, but when we start talking about death threats and the like, that's where that privilege of the First Amendment, freedom of speech, that's where that ends. Is when you start threatening people, and so I wanted to share that as well as we're working our way through this episode. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. Turn something else on. We're not forcing you to watch. We're not forcing you to listen. We're not doing any of that. We're just having a show, a podcast, like many, 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 many other institutions, individuals, organizations have. So just turn ours off. Don't even tune in. And so it just blows me away how some of these comments Uh, I think I counted on one video, there was almost 170, not just negative comments, right? We had that First Amendment. But when we start calling people POS, uh, spelling it out, using the F word, uh, making what could be considered death threats. And again, this is serious business here. Uh, I don't think anybody wants to have any of that happen. uh, because we value life. We value all of us. As we say, we not only pray for ourselves, but we pray for you and the entire world. Even if you are an enemy of ours, even if you are a competitor of ours, even if you are plagiarizing, which is what this episode is going to transition to, even if you are plagiarizing Morgan Busey, Busse, last name, uh, plagiarize from uh, mythical creatures around the world. And there's many, 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 many more. And so just like Turnitin is a tool that's used in the education space uh, to look at the degree, the percentage of a post, a piece of work, a project, a paper, and again, the closer we get to 100%, the the worse it looks for the person who turned in or is publishing books, selling them, putting them on sale for people to buy. When Morgan, we have the data, so just we're not making this stuff up. I've had the experience in the education space. First off, I got my master's, a real master's degree. I took it in person. I've done international travel. I've done a lot of things. I've taught for over 10 years at a university. I've taught in person with some of the hostilest students known to a person. I taught through the COVID, the online. I've developed courses, so worked to put courses that were primarily in person and worked to get those courses uh, so that they could be used remotely. So again, first thing, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't comment. We don't want to hear it. Nobody wants to hear it because these things could be potentially turned over to law enforcement. And that's not on me. That's not on us. That's on you. So you, the person, the people that are taking time out of your day, your night, your afternoon to spew hate on our TikTok lives, our Instagram lives, our Facebook lives, our TV show and podcasts about certain guests, about me, about the organization, using some of the most vulgar language I've ever heard. And these are coming from people who, uh, Brian Davis, Masters and Slayers, who in the back of your book, you wrote a song, and there's footage that we've shown where you've had children singing a song in the woods, talking about mutilating, penetrating. Uh, I mean, when I heard about that, I didn't believe it at first. I was like, nah, that's way out there. Then when I saw it, I just, disbelief came in. But then I started to see some of these comments that, you're making up uh, profile names on TikTok. You're logging into TikTok lives that we have. and you're spewing even there some of the brutalest language and comments, just absolutely sickening. And so, again, you made your bed, and that's what we're going to say about that. So, getting back here, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. Turn the channel, turn us off. You're not going to hurt my feelings. We're making a huge difference across the world. We're going to surpass helping 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond. We've already eclipsed that 300 episode number total that we were going to have at the end of calendar year 2025. This, I believe, is episode 377 or 378. We're going to have at least 400 total episodes by the end of calendar year 2025. So don't underestimate David. Don't underestimate David, even if you're Goliath. Uh, so you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. Turn channel, turn us off. That's okay. Uh, if you see we have a TikTok live, Facebook live, Instagram live, turn on something else. Turn some on something else. It's better for you in the long run, because as you know, there are things called digital footprints, and you're just making and continuing to make a digital footprint each and every time you want to pull and put some very um, very just disgusting language. Uh, and then the plagiarism, so we bring things right back, right? It's called the weave. We head on out and now we're heading back. We're talking about plagiarism, Morgan Busey, Morgan Busey, Morgan Busey. That is Morgan, last name Busey, Busse. That individual, that what we believe is a woman, uh, has the highest plagiarism percentage looking at mythical creatures around the world Facebook page. So, Morgan, you have a lot of explaining to do. Let me say that again. Morgan, you have a lot of explaining to do. Power three. Morgan, you have a lot of explaining to do. Why do you feel the need that uh, you have to plagiarize, you have to copy verbatim quite a bit of information and put it in books and writing that you're selling, making people think that those are your exact words when they're not all of them are, and in fact, quite a high percentage of the words aren't. So you need to step forward, step to the plate, and you need to explain yourself. Why? What made you decide to use mythical creatures around the world in your writing, so much so that you're plagiarizing, not giving attribution to who it's due to? Is that because the person behind mythical creatures around the world is one of the hottest and top authors of our day, of all time? That's my guess, but nobody cares what my guess is. We want to hear from you. We want you to explain. We want you to explain to your fans. We want you to explain to Realm. We want you to explain to each and every person that's ever bought one of your works, your books, anything written by you. We want you to step up and you to explain it. See, a lot of you may or may not know is when we come and we talk about things, We bring evidence, we bring the receipts. However, the other side, all you bring are words. You don't have the evidence you pull are the very words that you've spoke that are on YouTube to this day. Children, young children singing songs in the back, singing the song in the back of Masters and Slayers, Brian Davis. So it's talking to you. Hello. Welcome to another episode. We appreciate you tuning in, but we would rather you not because uh, you're you're not helping yourself out by having these children 15 plus years ago enter some sick contest and being okay with that. See, that's where Voices for Voices publishing, mythical creatures around the world, that's where parents and guardians can be sure that when you're handed and when you buy one of our works, it is safe, it is clean, as opposed to when you buy other Christian fantasy that's out there. People are sick and tired of the BS that our competition, the Christian fantasy writing, that people are sick and tired of that. And now I know a good bit why. It's because of the plagiarism. We also know David Solomon ghost wrote for you, Brian Davis, at a very young age. We do know that. That's called a fact. That's called evidence. Prove that it's not the case. Bring your evidence that shows that that's not the case. Because we matched each and every element that you put together in a document, and we had and still have the evidence on every single one of those. So it's also time for you to step out of the shadows, Brian and Scott Miner, who's not even an author. It was only after one of our shows, I believe, months ago. He put together some 50, 60 page pamphlet, booklet. I don't know. Uh, but see, we're talking about the light. We're talking about helping people. And so we just want people to know who are watching and listening to Voices for Voices that we bring the receipts, we bring the information. The people that are over on the other side, uh, they're bringing a lot of words. They're bringing lip service. They don't have the evidence. They don't have facts. The facts they have are that we quoted what they actually said. So it's not our fault that you actually said it. It's not. It's your fault that you actually said it. So this whole plagiarizing thing, people know that humans will make mistakes. We're not sinless, Brian Davis. You think you are, or Scott Miner, probably Morgan as well. I don't know. I can only guess that, that by plagiarizing so much of your work, taking after plagiarizing from mythical creatures around the world, and who knows where else you plagiarized from, and did not give attribution. You guys, I don't mean guys as in that you're all guys. I just mean you individuals have a lot of explaining to do. Because I tell you what, if somebody was coming and saying things that were false, I'd be coming on here and talking about them, which I have, and I am, and we have, and we've had guests, and guests with evidence. People don't want to see that. They don't want to hear it. They want to just pretend like it's not there. That we just forget about that. This isn't about power. This is about what's right and what's not right. What's right is having a Facebook page, posting original content, and giving attribution where it is due, which is exactly what David Solomon does, as opposed to Morgan Busey. Morgan Buse, again, I apologize if I'm speaking the last name wrong. I All I know is the spelling Busse. You have a lot of explaining to do, so you need to come forward on. I mean, you're. I think you're. I think you're jealous. You're envious of mythical creatures around the world. You know the quality of it, so I think that's part of the plagiarism. I think you're envious that you can't write something original that's as good as what David has and who he has attribution to. And so we look in the mirror every day, and you should be looking in the mirror every day too, and asking yourself, why am I and why have I plagiarized so much of mythical creatures around the world and passed off that work? Because that's the person that has the highest percentage of plagiarism from her work, Morgan's work, that people can purchase. So you're lying to your fans, you're lying to your readers. And I think, as just a human being, I think you owe them an apology for starters. You owe them a public apology. Say, you know what? I've made bad judgments over the course of my life. Some of those of which is I have taken uh, verbatim some information, some posts from mythical creatures around the world from David Solomon, and I've used that as my own, not giving attribution, which means you're just writing it as if it's your own. You're not using quotation marks. I don't even know. Do you know how to use quotation marks? Maybe you don't. I don't know. I'm not a, I don't proclaim to be some great writer. I just claim to be an expert on myself. And that's what I share. And our guests, that's what they share. They're experts on themselves. So, Morgan, you have a lot of explaining to do. Brian, you have a lot of explaining to do. Scott, you have a lot of explaining to do. Leading an organization that has these individuals part of your organization. So I ask you this, Scott Miner, is the organization you're leading, is that still an organization that you that you're happy with? Are you happy? Are you happy now, knowing that you have at least two individuals that we've discussed? And you know what? Let's close it out strong. Bon Ullman, also part of your organization, Mary's Children. Can lie all you want about it. You can pretend that the sky isn't falling when it is. You can pretend it's not sunny when it is. Von Neumann marries children. This is something that's publicly known across at least one state, if not more. And this information, and there's so much of it. The one article where Von was going to have one of his retreats, I guess is what he calls them. Uh, the Salvation Army owned and may own current day. This was I think a couple years ago. And so Von was going to have one of his retreats there. And this is way before Voices for Voices, so you can't even blame it on us. You can't say we're fabricating. Uh, you can, but you're lying. Uh, I think by now there's a lot of people knowing that you're lying and have been lying for years and years and years. But the Salvation Army, once they heard and they actually found out what you're doing, Vaughn, what did they do? They said, "Sorry, can't have your retreat here." That's a fact. We've shown that. We showed that on one of our shows, I believe. We did that. So we are Voices for Voices. We are Voices for Voices Publishing. Go purchase our comic book, The Atalan. You can spell that Atalan. David Solomon's writer. He's the author, content creator, songwriter, actor. There's not anything that I know of that he can't do in the entertainment space. And uh, so this is his first comic that he's written. And so Voices for Voices Publishing, we have five uh five written books for sale on Amazon.com. We did a TikTok the other night, and we went down the list, sharing information about each one of those. So if you're looking for ideas for the holidays, check the age ranges. A lot of them you can get in print and in electronic Kindle form. And I think there may be one or two that, as of the filming of this show, we have in the electronic Kindle version only at this point. So thank you for all the love and support you've given us. We're sending that back to you. We're praying for everybody, not just ourselves and our family and friends, and we're praying for everybody across the world, whether you're our enemies, whether you're our friends, uh, whether you're our competition. We want people to live a prosperous life, whatever that is to them, but also to do that safely and not hurt other people when you're doing that. We are Voices for Voices. Go ahead, smash that subscribe button, like, follow, share, big thumbs up. That all is free to do, and it helps us reach more people to get closer to and to go past helping 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond. We're everywhere media wise. And we also recommend you head on over to Amazon.com, check out Voices for Voices Publishing, grab a copy or two of our works. There's more to come. We love each and every one of you. Uh, and if you're able to, If you don't have a Facebook profile, please create one. It's free to do. Yeah, we love those free things. And follow mythical creatures around the world. Help us get to that 100,000 mark of followers, which are even our competition so jealous and envious that they don't have that many followers themselves. So that's just the plain old, that's just the truth there. We're not fabricating, making something up. It's the truth. And again, pick your favorite audio platform for the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. You can also watch it on YouTube, on Rumble, on our channels, our Voices for Voices channels. And last but not least, if none of those are options, but you're able to put a URL in to do a search, why don't you do a search for voices for voices dot org, which is org / podcast. That's voices for voices dot org / podcast. And one more time, voices for voices dot org / podcast. We love each and every one of you. We hope you have a blessed day. Even if you're not a believer, that's okay. We love everybody just the same. So have a great rest of your day, your evening, your afternoon, and you can just continue being yourselves and reaching out if you'd like to be on the show sometime. So we'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.